As a follow-up of my tank best in slot list, today we're gonna talk about the DPS best in slot list. There is quite a few differences, not a lot, there is a lot of overlap, but you actually get access to a lot more leather items. And it is not a big deal if you take leather, right? Because you're not gonna be tanking, so you get a lot more flexibility, and getting the hit cap is gonna be a bit of a pain in the butt. Let's go over it. So for the helmet, the best in slot helmet, of course, is going to be the Lion's Heart helmet. This helmet right here, you're looking at about 3000 gold to buy it. It is a VOE you can make in blacksmithing, is super expensive. However, if you are not a quadrillionaire swiper, you're gonna have to go with the IO Rend. It is a pretty good item, it drops from Rend in Ubers. Do not forget guys, we're gonna be in Ubers all our lives. If you're a warrior, you do Ubers every single damn day of your life. So this is not gonna be hard to get. It has 2% crit, which is super nice, 13 strength, it is really good. Honorable mention, the Crown of Tyranny from Stratholm. It has less crit, it has more attack power, it has a little more stamina. This is more of a tanking item, like if I were a tank I would go for this, but IO Rend, easy to get, really good, I will stick with that. For the necklace, you can get a really good necklace in Dire Mall, but Dire Mall is not out yet, so we're gonna go for another one from Ubers, the Ember Fury Talisman, 1% crit, a little bit of stamina. It's just easy to get and it's decent. This is gonna be one of the first items we replace in Dire Mall because there is one with hit on it. Sadly, there is not a lot of great options. Ember Fury is just good enough. For the shoulders, now if you got the hit cap, of course, if you got a weapon racial, most likely, you know, when you get a weapon racial, you only need 6% hit. If you do not have the weapon racial, you're gonna need 9. And that's gonna be very difficult, very challenging to hit before Dire Maul comes out. So you're gonna probably be rolling for the True Strike shoulders. These also drop from Ubers. Go guess, go guess. They are a fairly rare drop from the first boss in Ubers actually. But if you're gonna get the drop, there is actually a quest. These shoulders are pretty much the same except they do not have attack power. And they are from a really quick quest. All you gotta do is do BRD and you get it. So this will be good enough for you now. Wyrmhide Spolders. Of course I'm gonna go for True Strike. Let's assume you get it. But Wyrmhide Spolders, you are pretty much the same. So just do that quest in BRD and you're gonna be set. For the back, there is a super rare one that is actually from a rare spawn in Stratholm. The Gargoyle Cape, 7 strength, 8 agility. It is not like a super rare item, but you are not gonna be running a lot of Stratholm. And honestly, it is probably not worth your time to farm this thing. So the next best thing is gonna be the Emperor's Cape. Right here, 7 agility, 16 stamina. It drops from Emperor in BRD. You're gonna be doing quite a few BRDs anyway, so this is probably gonna drop. Otherwise, let's just go for Gargoyle because that's the true best in slot. Now for the chest, this is again the same case where like the best in slot, no question about it, is gonna be the Savage Gladiator Chain, 2% crit, 14 agility on top of that, which is almost another 1% crit, and 13 strength. This thing is pretty much the best in freaking slot. But what's the problem? Why is it not a reliable thing, okay? This thing has a 14% chance to drop from a boss that has a 20% chance to spawn. So we are talking like less than a 2% chance to actually get the item. The arena event, you know, you can get a random boss every time and every boss has a different loot table, so it sucks. You are most likely never going to see it in your life. So in return, we're gonna go for the Valor chest piece most likely. This one drops from the last boss in Ubers. It is super easy to get and it is kinda good. It is not nearly as good, but it is kinda good. Otherwise, just stick to the Gladiator Chain for now. I just want you to know there is an option out there. For the bracers, that's also gonna be really easy to get. They are gonna be the Battleborn Bracers. They are 1% hit, 1% crit. Amazing item in Ubers. It's gonna last you. I see people that get like almost all their tier 1 gear and they still use it. They are amazing, okay? These bracers are so simple, so easy to get. You're gonna be farming Ubers all your life. They are a fairly common drop from Rend in Ubers. So yeah, these things, you gotta get them. They are also plate, which is a plus in my book. Now for the hands. Here is where you're gonna have to run into a bit of a problem, okay? People will tell you that Devil Sword is the best way to get your hit cap, and Devil Sword will give you 2% hit. It is a set piece that you need the gloves and the pants, but the actual problem is that it is expensive. As you can see, they got crit when you get the gauntlet gauntlets and the pants you get 2% hit, which is pretty freaking big, and they are your actual best in slot, the gauntlets and the pants here. So you get 2% crit in total from both of them and 2% hit. But now people are gonna go, you gotta get Devil Sword. Devil Sword is mandatory, man. You cannot possibly live without Devil Sword. And to that I say, no. I wouldn't even say it is worth your money. If I were to save up for one item, it is most likely gonna be the Lion's Heart Helmet, or if I am like super omega rich, here you're gonna get Edge Masters. I do not even put it in my best in slot list, this item here. Of course, weapon skill is the best stat in the game and it counts as 3% hit, so this item is absolutely freaking bonkers, but this item is already going for 8,000 gold in my server. It's a fresh server and I can only imagine what it's gonna cost in like a week from now. So what are your chances of actually getting your hold of this item? Pretty much zero. Pretty much zero. So no, Edge Masters is not gonna be the play. However, there is this quest item that is super easy to get. Boons by Scripts. It is 2% hit, just as the whole entire set of the Devil Sword, 2% hit. And all you gotta do is clear LBRS once, Lower Black Rock Spire, you gotta clear it once. You are probably gonna get this dungeon done while you are leveling anyway, and it is 2% hit, so you cannot possibly go wrong with that. You absolutely gotta get this item from the quest every single time. There is also a very good belt, and a lot of warriors are baited into getting the belt. Never get the belt. 2% hit on your gloves is huge, because you never know, maybe you get like a tier piece in Molten Core and you gotta mismatch some items to get the hit cap again, and these gloves with 2% are huge. So even though Devil Sword is best in slot and I am gonna have to be forced to put it here, please do not forget to get those gloves in the quest. And as you can see, we got a 5% hit. Okay, if you get a weapon racial, I will show you some non-hit alternatives you can get. But otherwise, guys, I am gonna go for 9% hit on this build that I'm showing you because most people do not have a weapon racial yet. When Dire Maul comes out, and that's the next item we're gonna talk about, there is a belt in Dire Maul. The Mogger's Belt. It gives you dagger skill. And most pre-raid DPS warriors, yes, DPS warriors, it is still best in slot to get a dagger skill and still get a daggers instead of normal weapons. That might be crazy to you. Why would you get daggers? They scale less. Yes, they are normalized for 1.9 attack speed, so your whirlwind is gonna hit less. But that's pretty much it, okay? That's the only thing you sacrifice, and in turn you get weapon skill, which is absolutely freaking huge. No glancing blows, 3% hit. It is more than worth it to sacrifice some of your whirlwind damage and take 2 daggers and go for the Mogger's Belt. But the Mogger's Belt is not out yet. So in turn, we're gonna go for the good old Brigham Girdle. It drops from the last boss in Ubers, and it is 1% hit. Simple, reliable, go for it. Now for the feet, the Valor boots are amazing. You can get the boots of Valor right here. They got strength, they got agility, that's pretty much all you can get from boots. Otherwise, if you do not have a weapon racial, there is this Shaman gear actually from Skolomens. It drops from every single boss. I think they have like a 3% chance each to drop it, something like that. Yes, you can see here like 4%, 4%, 4%. You can farm this item. It has strength, it has agility, it has intellect, which is a waste, I know, because it's Shaman gear, but 1% hit. I do not think it is possible to get better boots out there, so I am gonna go for these boots. I got no shame whatsoever. You are gonna have to pull them off the gripping cold dead hands of a hunter, because if it drops, every single hunter in the world is gonna want it, but you definitely want these boots if you do not have a weapon racial. Even if you do, honestly, it is just a really good boots. Now for the ring, one of our rings is gonna be the Blackstone ring. It drops from Marodon. It is super easy to get. When you're leveling, you should farm it, and you can get 1% hit and 20 attack power. So 20 attack power is a decent ring on its own right, and you get 1% hit on top of that. It is pretty much the best thing you can get. Absolutely gotta take the Blackstone ring in your build. And for the other ring, that's also gonna be fairly easy because there is not a lot of good rings. We are gonna take the Pain Weaver Band. That's also from Ubers. You're seeing a pattern here. 1% crit, 16 attack power, just outright a pretty good ring. Now the trinkets. Here is when it gets a little spicy, because the Horde has access to an amazing trinket as early as level 46 that you should definitely get. That is gonna be the Rune of the Guard Captain. It is a simple quest in the hinterlands. You can do it at level 46, and you definitely should get it when you're leveling because 1% hit is huge. And it is 1% hit, 20 attack power, essentially the same as the Blackstone ring over here. And this thing is a lot of value. So if you're missing one of these items, you can make up for it with this trinket over here. However, I will assume that you are not Horde, because you can hit the hit cap anyway, so we're gonna go for the good old reliable Hand of Justice, 2% chance to get an extra hit on melee, which is 2% more rage, basically it's a lot of damage, and 20 attack power on top of that, so we are definitely gonna go for the Hand of Justice. Now for the other trinket, that's also gonna be fairly simple because there is not a lot of great options. We're gonna go for Black Hand's Breath. It's a simple 2% crit. This item you get it doing your Onyxia attunement right here. You gotta go do your Onyxia attunement in Ubers and stuff like that, and there you go, you get it. Super easy to do, and you gotta do it anyway, so that's fairly simple. Now for the ranged weapon, we're gonna go for Black Crow. It drops in LBRS, it is a fairly common item, and once again, 1% hit, 3 agility. There is a bow that is 3 agility better in Dire Maul, but if you got this, you consider yourself best in slot. It's pretty much the same item, and you're pretty much done with that. And as you can see, we got a flat, nice, clean 9%. You can swap some items around if you already have the hit cap because you got a weapon racial, but otherwise that's a flat clean 9%. Now for the weapons, this is actually like the interesting part. There is a lot of options. There is 3 options, right? You can be a human best in slot, you can be an orc best in slot, or you can be a not orc, not human best in slot. So like generic weapons. Well, for a human, the best in slot main hander is no question gonna be the Iron Foe. As you can see right here, it has a chance to give you a double Wind Fury proc, a slow speed, which a main hander ideally should be slow. It is not a huge deal if it is fast, but it should be slow. 43 DPS. It is an extremely rare drop from the Emperor, 1% chance to get it, so that's gonna be annoying, but if you get it, oh my god, if you get it, this is the best weapon in the freaking game. And your offhander, most likely, is going to be the Dalrend offhander. Now, Dalrends, you can take the whole set, you know, the offhander and the main hander, and they are pretty good. Iron Foe is gonna be better, of course Iron Foe is better, but you can go do 2 Dalrends, Dalrend main hand, and that's pretty much fine. Another deceptively good offhander you can get is the Trash Blade. This random quest item from Marodon, it does 35 DPS, which is not even that bad, and it has another chance of Wind Fury on top of that, so you can get Iron Foe here, Trash Blade here, double Wind Fury, 1 in each weapon. It is really dumb. You can get a Trash Blade proc that procs a Hand of Justice proc that procs an Iron Foe proc. There is like a 0.0000001 chance of that actually happening, but oh my god, if it happens, that will be hilarious, right? So yeah, this is what I would go as a human. Now for an orc, you actually do not have a lot of great options, honestly. As an orc, you probably want to go 2-hander. You got the Arcanite Reaper. It is an expensive axe, but you can buy it, and there you go, you're done. This is a pretty decent weapon you can get, but if you're going to dual wield, the best axe you can get is the Axe of the Deep Wounds. It is slow, it does a lot of damage, it is a random wall drop, it is super expensive as well, so you got that going on, but it does do a lot of damage. For an offhander, you can get another meme weapon. You can get the Flurry Axe, which as you can see is the same as the Trash Blade, but in axe form. It is an identical item. Look at that, the same DPS and everything pretty much. So you can get this axe. It is way faster, and an offhander being fast is actually good because that means you get more uptime on your deep wounds because, you know, more chances to crit. So that's pretty good. It doesn't really matter the speed of your offhander, but it is something. It is a little better. Otherwise, you can get the Bone Slicing Hatchet right here. This is a weapon from Stratholm that nobody wants, so it is pretty good. 13 agility, 170 DPS. It is not even a bad one-hander. Like a main hander, this is decent. You can go for this. Also, you can get the Spike, the Riven Spike over here. It is from LBRS. It is also fairly common. It is either a good main hander or a good off-hander. But theoretical damage, the Flurry Axe slightly beats the Bone Slicing Hatchet, slightly. So I'm gonna have to put this as best in slot right here. The potential for rage generation of the Flurry Axe is gonna beat the lack of DPS, basically. That's the main difference. Now, if you are not a human and you are not an orc, there is one gauntlet you can get in Molten Core, and that is the Core-Aged Leather Gloves. Right here, 1% crit, 5 skill 2 daggers. It is the same as any weapon racial. And before Dire Maul comes out, it's gonna be the only way to get your dagger skill, any weapon skill of any kind, without Edge Masters, which is gonna be pretty much impossible to buy, of course. So in that case, if you're going for dual wield, I recommend you start looking for daggers. Okay, daggers are really freaking important for you early on. Also remember, in January, we're getting Dire Maul, and we're getting a belt with weapon skill. We are even getting an off-hander with weapon skill. this one. Now this dagger is not in the game yet, but 6 dagger skill, 40 DPS, it is a really good off-hander. So if you want a dual wield, you can pick this up. As a matter of fact, this dagger is amazing because even if you do have a weapon racial, even if you are a human or an orc, you can still pick up this off-hander and you still get a weapon racial on it. So it is a perfect off-hander for any race really, but sadly it is not in the game yet. So in that case, the best main hander you can get, and please do not kill me, is going to be the Fell Striker. I know. Are you gonna get this out of the hands of a rogue? I wouldn't wanna see that. But as you can see, it does a lot of damage, 45 freaking DPS, and on top of that, it has a proc to give you guaranteed crits for the next 3 seconds. Busted is not even close to describing how insane this weapon is. So this will be definitely your ideal main hander. Your off-hander, however, you can go for Alcor's Sunrazor, which is a decent main hander on its own right if you wanna get it. It does also 45 DPS, which is pretty freaking huge. This is a BOE and it will also be super expensive, so not really realistic for the average player. You can go for the Scarlet Kreese, which is 41 DPS. It is a BOE, but it is not an insanely rare BOE. You can get this for probably pretty cheap. I think it is going for like 80 gold right now. It seems like a reasonable amount of gold for a best in slot weapon. Otherwise, you can also get the Bone Scraper. It's a common drop in Stratholme. It is awfully common and nobody really wants it. I don't know why exactly rogues never use it for some reason. I don't know what's the deal with that, but that's also a pretty decent off-hander for you. Now for honorable mentions for two-handers, we talked about the Arcanite Reaper, of course. That's gonna be the best axe for two-handers. If you are doing two-handers and you do not have a weapon racial, you can get an amazing weapon, believe it or not, from Ramstein in Stratholme. This stuff is insane. It is 51 DPS, which is on par with pretty much all the good two-handers. It has a speed of 390, which is very slow, so very good. You want a slow two-hander. And yeah, 29 strength on top of that. It is an amazing item. I know it feels weird to have a staff, but if you do not have a weapon racial, it is just as good as any other weapon. If you are a human, you can get the Black Blade of Shahram. It is a very rare drop from the last boss of Ubers. 60 freaking DPS, dude. 60. The proc is also insane. It is like a ghost guy that helps you. It does a lot of damage. What is the drop rate on this thing? It is pretty rare. Let's see. 1.5%. Yeah, super rare. But if you get it, oh my god. Another choice for a human is also this mace, the Sleeping Willow. It is from the beast in Ubers, so it is also super common, and also it is a very unpopular weapon, so if it drops, you get a very good chance that you're gonna get it. And 53 DPS, pretty respectable for what it is. The proc is also kinda cool, so you can also go for this instead. There is a ton of pretty good two-hander maces, honestly, for the Alliance if you're a human, but I am not gonna go over all of them. It is kind of a waste of time. Just get one of these and you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be farming Ubers every day anyway, so you're definitely gonna run across this mace at some point. And subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.